and a warm welcome to everybody present here. I am Daphne Sampat Kumar from Freedom College of Commerce, and I will be hosting the event for today. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. I welcome all the fans and followers from every social media platform to the first day of Delhi University's biggest virtual leadership summit. I am really glad and I am excited to introduce our legendary speaker, Mr. Rajiv Malhotra. He is a world-renowned researcher, author, speaker, and a public intellectual on contemporary issues that relates to civilization, cross-cultural encounters, spirituality, and science. He is the founder director of Infinity Foundation based out of Princeton in the USA since its inception in 1994. So at the peak of his career, he owned 20 companies in several countries. He took an early retirement at the age of 44 to pursue philanthropy, research, and public service. He is an active writer and a speaker on a variety of topics, including the traditions and cultures of India, globalization, East-West relations. So once again, I welcome you, sir. Thank you for joining us today.
Namaste. It's a delight and a pleasure to be here. I'm a product of Delhi University. That's one of the important things you should also mention. I went to St. Stephen's College and graduated in 1971. Of course, the university has changed a lot, but I'm always very happy to be interviewed by students anywhere in the world, especially Delhi University. So great to, congratulations for this great event that you're starting today, and I'm delighted to be part of it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. That was really a pleasure. Today's topic is a very exciting and interesting one. So it is like student dharma and service to society. So if you enlighten us with your thoughts on this topic, it would be great.
Okay, so what I want to do is spend we have a total of a certain amount of time, so I want to spend only so much time giving some introductory thoughts and have lots of time for Q&A. So I hope your team has some questions for me. This is a very challenging time for our youth. My generation is leaving a very messy world behind for your generation. Whether we wanted it this way or not, the point is that the world today is more dangerous, more complex, more risky for the youth. Of course, there is unprecedented technology. There are unprecedented good things happening also. But the turmoil and the disruptions and the uncertainty is like never before. And India faces more of this than any other country. In fact, I've been writing a book for the last 3 years. It was supposed to be published some months ago, but because of this COVID, it got delayed, and now it will be published in the next 3-4 months. It will be published hopefully soon. And this book is on the crisis that India faces and the crisis for the next generation, which means that leaders like you have your work cut out for you. And you should be clear on the opportunities and also on the big challenges that are present in the world for our youth today. You can even ask whether India's constitution was a suitable constitution for this country. There was a Bose idea, Subhash Chandra Bose idea of how to make a nation, and there was a Gandhi idea. And Subhash Chandra Bose's idea did not get implemented. Gandhi's idea got implemented. And as not only Gandhi's idea, but then further, morphed and modulated and distorted and transformed by Nehru. So what we have is a Gandhi-Nehru DNA of what a nation should look like. And we don't have a Bose kind of an idea of what a nation should look like. This is a nation which is not properly rooted in the Bharatiya social theory or political theory. There are a lot of Sanskrit words they use here and there, but that doesn't mean that they actually implemented a Bharatiya idea. Nor is it a properly, American-British kind of, constitutional democracy. It's neither here nor there. While Indians are trying to mimic Americans now, they used to mimic British, and now they're mimicking Americans. I hope that in the future we are not mimicking Chinese. But this idea of mimicking somebody, we have to be validated by somebody else. This is a very serious problem because we're not grounded in a sense of our own narrative and who we are. So, being, we've had 70 years, and of course, when we measure progress, a lot of the progress is fixing the DNA flaws, fixing the birth defects. India had birth defects. So many things in the constitution, so many basic structures had to be fixed because the founding fathers, and soon after the constitution was written, some early laws were enacted, which created some handicaps for our country. And now recently, the government is trying to counter that and fix that. But while the rest of the world has moved on way ahead, particularly China, we're still fixing our problems. We're still fixing our own problems. The world is not going to wait for us. If you look at the youth today, so much into consumerism, short-term gratification, chasing limelight, chasing instant fame. This is not how character is built. This is not how institutions are built. We really need to revamp the entire leadership, young leadership, because I don't think the leadership of my generation it's worth investing time to fix them, because they are how they are. The younger generation leadership must be mentored and trained quite differently, and they should take responsibility. So, for example, if you look at as role models, you look at the characters in Mahabharata. They're very audacious. They're very direct. They're very clear on what their position is and why their arguments are very clear. Whether you agree with them or disagree with somebody, whether somebody is a good person or a bad person, the point is that they're very straightforward, no nonsense. Only Shakuni is this very sleazy, slippery fellow. You don't know what he's saying, what he's meaning, and he's got double, triple meanings. And the question is today, where is the Vidur type of person who's no nonsense, principled person? Where is the Bhishma Pitam? Where is the Yudhishthir? Where is the Dronacharya to mentor young generations? We don't have the kind of role models that traditionally we used to have. So we suffered 1,000 years of destruction with the Muslim invasion, and the whole leadership and the Kshatriyata got wiped out, and we had to bow down to a whole different worldview. And then the British made it even worse. They took it from there, and we got sort of pseudo-Europeanized. This whole Bhadralok and Bengali Babus and Babus everywhere else, and Sepoys and all of these the Zamindars, all of these British ideas became very dominant in our culture. And now after independence, we tried to become, chase the Western model of liberalism, and we made a mess out of it. So, India has some serious problems, and India needs to hit a reset and rethink a lot of things at a very foundational level. It calls for an intellectual revolution. I do not think that either the current government or any previous government or any new government within the current structure is going to be able to solve these problems, because and I will show that in my book. I will show in my book that given all the factors, all the challenges India has, both internally, domestically, and externally, geopolitically, and in its state of technology, and its state of economics and unemployment, all of those factors, it's very difficult for India to get out of it without some dramatic, radical rethinking. And this requires very intelligent people. We need to empower those very intelligent people in the highest levels of government, which hasn't happened. If you look at our education system, it's still a mess. If you look at the culture ministry, it's a mess. If you look at foreign affairs, we haven't projected what the ICCR is supposed to project, the culture of India globally. We haven't been able to do that. So there are a few successes also. Yoga is a good thing we've done. But yoga has not translated into soft power. There is Yoga International Day, and then within plus or minus 1 or 2 weeks, United States lists India as one of those countries with no religious freedom. So what kind of soft power is it that on the one hand, people will hug us and give us some big tamasha event, and on the other hand, trivialize the very fabric of freedom, spiritual freedom that India has? So if you misinterpret soft power. Then soft power is just cultural events. You can have a Bollywood show, you can have cricket, you can say it's soft power. That's not soft power. Power has to be there. You have to have power to have soft power. So if you just play cricket and people are liking your food and they're liking yoga and all that, that doesn't translate into power. That every country has. You go to even the most tiny little country in Africa or Latin America or somewhere, they have culture. But that is not translate into soft power. Soft power means being able to influence people on policy matters in your favor, okay, because of the factor called soft power. If yoga were able to make American policy on our side, or British policy on our side, or German policy, or Chinese policy, or Japanese policy, or anybody's policy, then I would say it is soft power. If it is not able to shape people's policy and behavior in our favor, then it is just culture. So there's a difference between culture and soft power. I think a lot of people are confused because of the cultural popularity of India. They think we have soft power, but I hope I'm clarifying, and you can ask me questions on this. Culture is not the same thing as soft power. Culture is a necessary condition for soft power, but it is not sufficient. You need to do more than just have culture to translate that into soft power. Now, if you look at China bullying us around, it's like China is pushing us around, and India is reactive. India is reacting to China. We're not even able to anticipate what they're about to do. After they've built up something, then we know they've built up something on the border. After they put up some tents, we know, oh, they put up some tents. But we are not able to even anticipate with all the satellites we have and with all kind of intelligence gathering machinery we have, all the technology we have. We're not able to say that 200 trucks are moving in our direction, they will reach in 5 days. We're not able to say that. After they've reached, we can say, oh, we found that they're there. So this is kind of quite disappointing, considering what we claim we have achieved. And then a country like China is testing how fragile we are in some little place here and there to test how much internal argument and fighting they can generate, how much will we have or don't have, who will come to our defense or nobody will come to our defense. They're testing. It's like you do a little test to see how the other side reacts, to learn their behavior. That's all they're doing. They're sharpening their algorithms to read our mind and predict Indian behavior response towards such things. So what they're testing, little bit here, little bit there, is a preparation for something bigger. So that is what the way we have to think about it. I feel that the quality of leaders needs to be substantially raised. And I don't want to go into the details of what the issues are, but I've interacted with leaders at all levels for the last many, many years. And I do not think that this is the kind of leadership that makes you a superpower or Vishwaguru or any of that. And I'm not talking about any party. I'm not talking about any individual. I'm just talking about the general. So when you address students like you, I want to create this sense of a complex Kurukshetra that you are entering. And you have to become Kshatriyas, intellectual Kshatriyas in this Kurukshetra. You cannot be very weak and you cannot be very easy, want an easy life and everybody patting your back and making you feel good. You have to be fighters. This is what I'm trying to say, that you've entered a world where as leaders, you have to be good fighters and intelligent fighters, not just crude fighters and not just emotional fighters. So to be this intellectual Kshatriya, it's not just slogans. It's a lot of hard work. First, you have to understand the Kurukshetra, who's who. Internal Breaking India forces, you have to understand who they are, who funds them. External neighborhood enemies. And now it's not just Pakistan and China, but you'll see within 5-10 years, Nepal will join that axis. It will be China, Pakistan, Nepal. And the whole Nepal, the crisis was we let the Hindu king down. When there was a Maoist uprising, leftist uprising, India had sent troops to Sri Lanka to support those guys, and then we withdrew. But India did not do anything to help the Hindu king when he was facing trouble. And the whole royal family got finished off, and look where we are. And it's going to get even worse. Even now, India is not intervening in the political matters of Nepal the way it should. I'm not saying that we should organize a military coup or any of that stuff, but India certainly should counter the Chinese influence, which is huge inside Nepal. China is funding them. China is developing their youth training. They're training their youth. Why is India not training the high potential Nepali youth who will become in 5-10 years the next generation of leaders? I mean, India is training the military and the diplomacy of Bhutan. So we are doing it. We have the capacity. Why not for Nepal? So, we are waiting for another problem because the tendency, the weakness of our people has been to pretend there is no problem. We don't want to face problem. So, सब कुछ ठीक है, हो जाएगा ठीक, भगवान ठीक कर देंगे. ये, उनका वो खराब लोग हैं, बहुत अच्छे लोग हैं. As if though that is enough, to be in the Kurukshetra. Sri Krishna is very clear who's who has what weapons, who's good in this, who's weak in this. He's doing a SWOT analysis. He's doing a Purva Paksha of all the people in the Kurukshetra. We have to do it. And we have a lot of people that we have to worry about. So, besides the understanding the Kurukshetra, internal and external, we have to have clarity of our narrative. Who are we? What would be Vedic social sciences? What would be Vedic social theory? I have not seen that. I've gone to social studies departments, talked to sociologists, anthropologists, political scientists. They just quote one or two things from some Arth Shastra here or whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about slogan baji, going to some literary festival and making a big, tamasha out of it. I'm talking about social theory, which is something which is rigorous, which can be taught in universities, which can be turned into policy. You can have laws, you can have governance, you can have, the way you elect the government, the way you run the government, all kind of social issues. I'm talking about a foundation for addressing the real practical social matters of India. That would be the social theory. So where is this Vedic social theory and social sciences? I'm actually writing a book on that also. That will not be the first book, but it will be a sequel to that. That in the first book, I'm pointing out issues and problems facing India's survival and India's sovereignty because of all these issues in India. And then in a subsequent book, I'm addressing solutions. One of them is the need for a whole different social theory and political theory on who we are. And based on that, we can build a more powerful nation. EU as individuals, you need to have a sankalp, a determination of your commitment beyond just looking out for your job and stability. You need all that. Of course, you need all that. You need to be financially secure, and this COVID has set us back probably 5-10 years. You need to worry about all of that, but you also need to be altruistic and think bigger than your own selfish nature. You need to have personal sankalp for family, but also sankalp for the Rashtra and sankalp for humanity. And that is a part of our character which we need to improve. We need more people from the big industrialists, whether it is Ambani or down to the average person. We should not be thinking about accumulating and becoming selfish and better for ourselves. We should also think about other people. You also have Dharma. After you have a sankalp, you need to discover, okay, what is my Swadharma? What is my contribution? What are my qualities? What am I trained for? What are my strengths and limitations? And you need to have your Swadharma. It cannot be somebody else's Swadharma you're copying. And this is where mentors come in. We don't have enough good mentors. We need very good mentors. Senior people should mentor the younger people. And the younger people should be interested in volunteering for the senior people in order to learn, in order to help them, and also in order to learn. I have difficulty getting volunteers who are quality people. A lot of people will come. I get 100 emails a day or every 2-3 days wanting to come help and this and that. You tell them to do something specific, they run away. Or they'll make a promise, but they'll just do a little bit and then, okay, ho gaya, kafi ho gaya, bore ho gaye, chalo. Yeah, they'll just move on. But high quality, dependable, reliable, responsible youth we need. We need that character cultivated so that this Swadharma is very solid. For that, you need to do tapasya. You absolutely have to be a hardworking person, not quick results. I have a lot of people who sign up for a project, and their idea is that they'll quickly be successful and become very famous. But when they realize this is a lot of work, this is hard work, you're not going to get any accolades or any big public, limelight very quickly. This is going to be years and years of effort with nothing, and that's what you have to do. So this tapasya, meaning hard work, regardless of whether you're getting personal value out of it for yourself, but hard work to conclude what you started, to be successful in pursuing a goal which may be bigger than for yourself. This is very important character we have to build. Then I would say we need Sangha. Sangha is a good companionship, good company. And I'm not talking about one group called Sangha. They are fine, they're good. But I'm talking about you need Sangha. You need to make think tanks. You need think tanks that are very provocative, that are intellectual, that are challenging. So you need all that. And you need to create, with all of these elements that I just described, you need to create a yajna, a project. A yajna means a collective project. This is what our goal is. This is what we want to achieve. And don't make it 20, 30 years, 5 years. 3-year, 5-year goals you should have individually and collectively. So I would love to, I would love to come and be in personal contact once this COVID thing is over in your university with students. I would love to mentor people. I would love to have them get involved in Infinity Foundation. We have so many projects. We have digital marketing projects. We have research projects. We need people to write articles. We need people to promote what we are doing and create little leadership, communities where things can be promoted in a certain way. So we're looking for all that, and we would like that our mentors and students from your side can make things happen. So I will stop, because I think this is an endless project. We could just go on, but what I wanted to do is just to set the ball rolling, and then ask the moderator and others who are present to please ask me questions, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for such valuable information, sir. It was like totally inspiring and motivational to listen to. So you told us about the educational pattern. Like not only the educational pattern in India, like the pattern is stereotyped and stigmatized. Like they consider a person successful only if he gets good marks, or only if he enters into a good university, gets into a good career, and gets a house and car. So they consider that successful. So what do you think about this stereotypical pattern which is followed by our people?
So the British started an education system to create bubbles for the bureaucracy. The British wanted a servant class doing menial work, and they wanted educated servants who would basically follow the British orders and British ideas and do all the detailed work for them. So the whole education system, starting in the early mid-1800s, was like that. And the traditional Indian system was finished off, because traditional Indian system was more connected with each individual's own Dharma and his own capabilities, his own qualities, which are very personal. So, and then if you were a farmer, to learn how to be farmer was important. If you were somebody who's a mason, then learning how to be a good mason was important. It was not like you have to go and read books and pass exams. So the Indian education system, it is shameful. It is absolutely disgraceful that even after 6 years of this new government, no HRD minister has been able to create an education system which is world class, where we are producing people that can compete. On the one hand, we have 0.01%, 0.01% of Indian youth who are world class. They go and they can be chairman of Google or Apple or Microsoft, or maybe one day Apple also, maybe one day Amazon also. But if you look at first of all, most of these people get sucked up by and go abroad. And then those who stay in India, they work for the foreign subsidiary of the Indian subsidiary of a foreign company. Very few of them are really invested in creating intellectual property for India and institutions for India. And the vast majority, 99.9%, are not being trained to be really that good, world class. I mean, they're competing against each other on marks and exams. And so I would say nothing short of, so I talked about earlier the need for a total revolution in how we structure our society. Education, I'm glad you asked the first question. Education is a very good example where it's not a question of, let's change this syllabus and add this course, and the whole thing has to be changed. And I don't see, I've talked to the different HRD people I've met, I don't see the level of thinking, the brilliance. I don't see that. And the ministers are politicians. They're appointed with political reasons. That is what our democracy is, that you got to keep running for elections all the time, and in order to stay in power. So the people who help you do that, you got to give them positions. So since they are not subject matter experts on anything, on their ministry, they depend on the IAS. So IAS is running the country. The defense ministry is not run by the defense minister. He doesn't know a whole lot. It's run by the defense ministry IAS people. HRD is run by the HRD, IAS people. So the bureaucracy has not been reformed at all. Modi is afraid to take on the bureaucracy. Modi has made the bureaucracy even more strong. The PMO's office full of bureaucrats, the biggest PMO office India ever had. Hundreds, more than 500. So the policy is set, and the bureaucracy then decides how to do it, when to do it. In the case of PM, he's thinking, he's a thinker. He's definitely a thinker. But in the case of the other ministries, I'm not sure that the minister is adding much value. I think it's largely the bureaucracy doing it and looking for guidance from the PMO's office. So, you cannot run such a large, complex country in such a centralized way with a few people doing all the thinking. We need much better caliber people appointed on the cabinet. And education is one good example where we have failed to do so.
Yes, so thank you so much for the thought-provoking answer. And now, for moving further, we have a panelist who are looking forward for your answers. They have the questions. So the first question will be asked by Saurabh. Saurabh, you can proceed with your question.
Hello, sir. Sir, as I could gather, I could understand that character is very important.
Yes.
Character is very important for that radical shift that we're looking for.
Yes.
As they say that it's Sheelam Param Bhushanam. Character is the biggest virtue, and we have to change the character.
Right.
I have a constant query in my mind, and I think most of my fellow people also have that query. Do the ancient ideals of Dharma still hold that much relevance in an India that is modern and westernized, and the thought process is entirely changed?
Excellent question. So the question is, since character is important, and I'm glad the person asking the question sort of picked on the radical nature of transformation, not a little bit change here and there. How relevant is the ancient civilization in doing this? Because we live in a modern world which has got science, technology, westernization, all of that. How relevant is the ancient traditions of India? Let me tell you, Japan remained very Japanese in their tradition and culture and became the most advanced science and technology country in the world, Japan. And now China, without losing a very specific Chinese signature, Confucian thought. They are called communist, but they put communism, they've digested communism into Confucianism. Confucianism is their traditional system of society and politics and governance and all that. It has to do with a hierarchy of power from individual to family and all that, all the way to emperor, which is now the Communist Party. So the Communist Party has become sort of the emperor, and Confucian thought into that they've digested this communism. So, and as necessary, they brought in capitalism. As necessary, they brought in all the science and technology. They've taught their people English as a second language. All of that they've done. So they become very modern, within the Chinese framework. Now, Islam has not been successful in keeping their tradition and becoming very modern at the same time. They have not been. They're fighting because their tradition is not able to absorb modernity. Chinese have been able to absorb modernity Japanese have been able to absorb modernity, but the Islamic people, they're fighting. Are we modern? If we are modern, then we can't be Muslim anymore. If we are Muslim, then we cannot really be modern. They're trying. They're still trying, and I wish them luck because I want them to succeed in bringing modernity, reformation into Islam. Now, when you talk about us, we have a tremendous resource to adapt. If you look at the different periods of our history, we've always adapted. I mean, there's the Vedic ideas, but then you look at Ramayana, then you look at Mahabharata, you look at the Arthashastras, the Dharma Shastras. They keep adapting. Manu himself says that what is Dharma in one context may not be good in another context. What is Dharmic, what is the right way in one region of the country may not be good in another region. What is good in one era may not be good in a future next era. So things have to change. So we are not frozen with one book that God gave long ago and we're not allowed to change it. We're not stuck like that. So we are required to keep modifying and advancing with time. Therefore, our tradition should be adapted for modernity. Now, if you look at so many things in our tradition that the world is adopting, they are adopting and digesting it into their traditions, into their platform. Into the Western platform, they're taking things from us and digesting them there. So it means there are useful things, there are important things, but we haven't been able to do that. This is the job of HRD, it's the job of Ministry of Science and Technology, it's the job of Ministry of Culture, all kind of ministries we have. But we have not been able to bring our civilization beyond just poetry and lot of talks and lectures and nostalgia and emotions and all that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about using our civilization as the foundation for hard power in terms of even military, even strong social fabric, even self-discipline. There is so many things that we should get from our own tradition, and at the same time constantly be adapting for modernity. So I do not see one or the other black and white choice. Do you want to be traditional? Do you want to be modern? I think I want to be both, and our tradition allows us to do that. We have scientific tradition, inquiring minds, argumentation tradition, a tradition for challenging others. In the Mahabharata, everybody challenging other people. So there's nothing rude. I mean, you go challenge your guru, you challenge he's supposed to answer. People challenge Dronacharya and he gives answer. Today, people, if I challenge somebody, they'll say, oh, no, you're rude, you're not supposed to do like that. You are supposed to do like that. So why is it that the Indian youth who should be grounded in tradition and challenging authority and bringing in as many new ideas into tradition, why aren't they doing that? I mean, this is very sad for me. But the short answer is we should appreciate our tradition first by studying it properly with good mentors. This means change in the education system. And we should then also bring in modernity. So earlier in my talk, I mentioned social theory. Social theory is a very good example. There is such solid stuff in our social theory, traditional social theory, that can be adapted for today. And this hasn't been done. We do not, the social sciences are taught from a Western sociology point of view, all of them. And just to keep everybody happy, there's one or two papers on, Arthashastra or some social theory of Ramayana or Mahabharata or whatever, just to do lip service, to make it, to show off that we have this. But that's not genuine, that's not honest, and that's not going to do the job.
Thanks a lot for the answer, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. The answer was really thought-provoking and it was really inspiring to listen. So every time you answer, you make us wonder like whether you have some magic in your words. So that is really great, sir. So the next question, it will be asked by Akshit. Akshit, you can proceed with your question.
First of all, sir, we would love to host you in Delhi University as
Very
you are
good.
our alumni and a great thinker and a dynamic person.
Yeah, I'm missing the mangoes. I talked to my mother and they're enjoying abhi langda aam aa raha hai. I am missing those mangoes. And so, I want to get rid of this COVID and want to go there and enjoy some mangoes. So you must invite me, and we should have a good event in Delhi.
Yes, sir. Sir, my question is, DUSU being world's largest students union and representing more than 7 lakh students. So there are many a times we need to create student movements or organize protests against the administration for the student cause. So what should be the student dharma in that context of protest and student movements?
I think protest is fine. Protest is a very much important part of student life. Protest is a very important part of Indian culture. We are not, our culture is not that you have to be obedient. Bhagwan ne keh diya or Raja ko bol diya, and whatever the Raja says, it is like God and you just follow it. It's not like that. I mean, people have been debating, arguing, discussing all the time, you know. And I keep going back to Mahabharata because I think it's a very important text. The whole text, all these chapters of the Gita, part of Mahabharata, and the rest of the Mahabharata is very important to learn how people think in our culture. People of all kinds, different views, how they think. So this idea of protesting is very important, because even if leaders were good, which they are not, but even if leaders were good, you need to keep them on their toes. So, but you know, when you are protesting, you should first take a topic. And my next book will explain a very important, which I think is the most important topic. And I hope that when that book is launched, you guys will have a discussion on how you should pick up that topic. But you can pick any topic, become specialist, study what that topic is, what are the different points of view, and develop some position papers. Have some internal debates within the student union, and create some good intellectual quality. And then that intellectual quality should be the basis for Andolan and for revolutions. I don't mean physical violence. I don't believe in that. But I think you should challenge. You must challenge the authorities, whether they are in the education system, whether they are in about the whole employment situation, anything that affects youth, whether it's the economics. All departments of government affect the youth more than me. They don't affect me so much, but they affect you. Every department. There is not a single aspect of the government which you should feel is not your business. It is your business, because they're supposed to be working for you. They're supposed to be working for you, the citizens of this country and the future leaders of this country. So challenging people is very important. Challenging government is very important. But preparing student leaders who are knowledgeable, who are high quality, who have good debating skills, and who are able to articulate properly, who are able to cite sources and examples and give evidence. This is what the students have to develop. Now, I'll tell you, in the US, this kind of leadership training starts in schools. By the time you reach college, it's already late. In schools, they at every level, you are taught to be a leader. So this is not just about marks, and go to the next level, but leadership training, group dynamics, how to make a team, how to understand each other, how to make sure somebody is not exploiting you, how to figure out when somebody is trying to do something. All of that is part of being a leader. You have to also be a psychologist, a psychologist about group psychology. So this kind of training, which Delhi University needs, has to start in schools.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
So Shivangi will now ask the next question, sir. Shivangi, you can proceed with your question.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
There is so much competition. No doubt competition plays very important role in our life. Competition is good. But sometimes, competition takes very ugly place. So how can we convert competition into contribution, sir?
Very good question. Because competition, sometimes it is more about bringing down somebody. Uski besti kar di, ha. This kind of thing on social media is not, I don't call that competition. That is more like insulting each other, more like fighting, squabbling. I don't consider that competition. Competition should be for high quality achievement. I'm competing to see I want to compete, so my technology is world class, and I'm competing against the world. I'm not competing against the fellow next door. I'm competing against the best out there in the world, and I want to make sure that I have the best products, the best success on a global scale, because the whole marketplace and the Kurukshetra is global now. It's not some local thing. So fighting each other, which does not produce this kind of an outcome for the entire nation to move forward, is counterproductive. So I think this is, I'm glad that you've noticed the difference between competition and just fighting each other to bring each other down. That is the habit we have is not genuine competition. You're right. The habit, the character we have is people just trying to score points, bring somebody else down. And the media plays it. I don't know of a single TV station. I don't know whether it's the old ones, whether it is Republic, whatever. I mean, I don't know a single one which does serious analysis. It would require one-on-one with an important, intelligent guest, take a topic and really go deep into it. There is nobody wanting to do that. They want to put 10 people on their TV screen, and everybody shouting here, there, whoa, whoa, whoa. And if that's the role model, if those are the people that are considered to be important, I mean, come on, this is a joke. This is not a country worth anything. Every time Republic invites me now, I tried going there 2-3 times. I had it. Whenever they call me, I say I am not interested, because you're making a big tamasha. Everybody gets a few seconds, and whoever shouts more gets in. And it seems that the host enjoys it, and his public enjoys it. A host is the different hosts. It's not their fault. The hosts are very intelligent people. They're giving you, the public, whatever you're liking. They aapko wo de rahe because you enjoy it, and because you enjoy it, they get good ratings, good TRPs, and they're successful. So media has a lot to do with what you're talking about. This business of confusing competition with conflict for the sake of conflict. Somebody told me that the reason is people are very frustrated in their lives during the day. They come home, and in the evening they want to turn on the TV and let go of all their frustrations and anger on somebody else. And they want कि वो उसकी पिटाई कर रहा है, वो उसके बारे में गाली दे रहा है, वो उसको नीचे ला रहा है, and they get a joy out of that. And that's because in their own life they're so frustrated. I don't know if that's true, but that's what someone in India told me. That's his theory. Whatever the reason is, the TV hosts should be more responsible and get programs which are investigative reporting, which are serious guests who can go drill deep into a topic, give them one-on-one time, and stop this nonsense tamasha of filling up a screen with so many people, and the same people trying to be expert on everything. Chahe defense ho, chahe koi local baat ho, chahe koi temple ki baat ho, chahe koi legal issue ho, har issue mein same people come and they are the experts on everything. I mean, because this is considered to be the high intellectual caliber people in India. The rest of the population is basically following on that example. So it has to start from the top. This business of being extremely responsible, not pulling each other down, but making contributions, being more interested in making important contributions, it has to come from the top. And such people should be given more prominence. They should be recognized. They should be appreciated as role models, and not the guys who are just out there being very loud and trying to become popular. So ये जो problem आपने पहचाना है, ये बहुत important problem.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the answer. So before getting to the next question, I have a very quick question for you. Like, who was your favorite professor in Delhi University, as you're from DU?
Oh, so I graduated in 71. So none of those professors is going to be around anymore. I mean, they're all gone. This is before you guys were even born. But I remember one or two physics. I was a physics. I did physics honors in St. Stephen's College, and there was a Dr. Nagpal in mathematics. I think he's no more. He was very smart, very good, in teaching us mathematics. I was disappointed with chemistry department. I liked the physics department. I thought the physics department, there was one Professor Verma, he was very good. And you know, physics department in Delhi University, at least in those days, was a pretty good department. I mean, I finished my BSc. We did 11 years of school. Nowadays, I think it's 12. Is it 12? 12, right? 12, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. In those days, it was 11 years of school, 3 years of undergraduate, 2 years of masters. So after 11 plus 3, you got 14 years. You're not on par with American people who've done undergraduate, because they have 12 and then undergraduate is 4 years. So they've done 16 years. After a bachelor's degree, they've done 16 years. In India, after bachelor's degree, we've done 14 years. This is why people would do a master's degree in India, 2 more years, and then we would have 16 years. That's when they would go for postgraduate to the United States. In my case, after 11 years of school, 3 years of bachelor's degree, I went to United States for a PhD. Great. Because my GRE exams were, I was in the 99 percentile, all the different, our standard was very good in those days. I don't know what has happened now, or maybe it's still good. But when I went to the United States, I was 20 years old. And I was a teaching assistant teaching physics students who were older than me. I was teaching physics undergraduates who were older than me. And so here is this guy from India, you know, poor person, or middle class person, very well educated parents, but not some business class, or not some high class lifestyle, basic hard work ethic people. And I arrive in the United States, and the professors there are impressed by how much I know. All this taught in India. So the quality of Indian education in certain sciences, at least at that time, was world class. And it was recognized as such. I do not know what has happened. I don't know if now people are all going towards jobs, professions, careers which are job-oriented and not pure sciences. I don't know if the standards are still good or not good. But in my time, I must say, there were some very good teachers. But my school teachers, I also remember, they created a very good foundation. So I'm glad you're asking this question. And I'm wondering how much influence students have in Delhi University in evaluating their teacher. And does it matter if you give feedback that somebody is a good teacher? Does it help? Does it make a difference to their career? Or is it that they had teacher, this is the teacher, doesn't matter? I remember in my time, we were always giving feedback about the teachers, and people were listening, the administrative people were listening. They wanted to know how students feel about the teacher.
Yes, sir. So even I think it is really necessary for the feedbacks to be given by the students to the teachers. So the next question will be asked by Alokit. So Alokit, you can proceed with your question.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
So, as a fact, we all know that the disciple should go to the guru with some discipleship. But what is the exact meaning of discipleship? Is it the intelligence or the conduct? I mean the behavior.
Good question. A disciple should go to the guru with some discipline. And the question is, what constitutes discipline? Is it intellectual or is it conduct? Okay, there is intellectual, there is conduct, there is a third one which is called emotion. It should not be emotion, because problem is today too much emotion. हाँ sir, हम तो कुछ भी कर देंगे आपके लिए. आप this kind of a talk, emotion talk, but no productivity, no outcome. So many people come and they think that to be a good disciple, you just have to be emotionally, a very nice guy and say all the right things. But depends on the guru. If the guru is a busy worker, busy person, and he has a lot of projects, he's looking for people who will actually help him produce results. He's looking for people who will join, take instructions, learn very quickly, and produce some output, and by doing that, they will also become very good. By helping out, they will also become very good. Now, if a person is very emotional, that's not going to help a whole lot. As far as behavior is concerned, I think behavior is definitely a prerequisite. If a person is intelligent but not able to listen to the guru, there are people who don't have good listening skills. I noticed that they don't have good listening skills. They think they're very smart, and so they try to outsmart, and they feel that that's the way to be a disciple, is just to try to keep outsmarting. They don't get anything done. When you enter some organization or a project or a guru's his space, you must first have the humility to understand and study what happens there. How do they do things? Why are they doing it this way? What is going to be my role? What is my job? What have they asked me to do? That requires humility. So they have to have good behavior, intelligent listening skills, to figure out what is going on, who is who, how are decisions made, what matters, what is their priority, what is unimportant, what is considered a distraction and a nuisance. So they have to learn the psychology of the team into which they're entering. And they have to know that, look, I'm junior, I'm the new guy, they're not going to change according to me, I have to change according to them, I have to fit inside their family, not the other way around. I'm not going to walk in and start calling the shots and making everybody change. I have to understand how to behave in accordance with their ways. So I think good behavior is necessary, and then the level of intelligence will determine how advanced you can get. So if the behavior isn't good, no matter how smart you are, they'll throw you out, because you'll become an obstruction, you'll become a nuisance, you'll become disruptive. So my sense is, leave the emotions out, have good behavior to fit into the organization, and then use your intelligence to learn what is your best role. Very good question.
Thank you so much, sir. So are there some final thoughts you would like to share with us?
Well, I think Indian women are underutilized in society. I think Indian women are intelligent, they're bright. We have a tradition. We have more women power in our classics, in the Indian Itihas, more women empowered than in Jewish tradition, in Christian tradition, in Islamic tradition. There's no other that the amount of empowerment that we have had, more than the Chinese culture in historical terms. So given all that, it's kind of a disappointment that women are not getting enough power, and women are still sort of seen as maybe they should study enough to get married and raise a family and all that. My role model was my mother, and still is my mother. She's turning 95 in the next couple of months, and she's in Delhi, and she's a tough lady. She's exceedingly intelligent. She is a doctor. She got a gold medal. There were 3 medical universities, 3 medical colleges in Punjab. This is pre-partition Punjab, Lahore, Ludhiana, like that. There were 3 medical colleges in the entire Punjab medical system, and she was a gold medalist in all of that combined, boys, girls combined. So she's a very brilliant person, very assertive. And when I was being raised, she was a kind of a very dominant person in the whole general family, helping everybody, making intelligent decisions, very articulate, able to go and express her point of view publicly. So I was raised by a very highly empowered woman. And so when I went to America, and I was 20, and I would hear them talk about, oh, Indian women don't have power and this, that. I could not understand what they're talking about, because in my family it was not that way. So I have no sister. So the woman who was in my life was my mother, and she's exceedingly assertive, very brilliant person. And her mother, who lived to be 100, was not formally educated. She's not very educated formally, but exceedingly smart and very assertive. and very good at explaining, educating, conveying her point of view. So, the women in India that I have known are very good. But then when I look at statistics, exceedingly high unemployment among women. Do you know when they say India's unemployment is 6% or 8% or 10%? That's not true, because they don't include women. They assume that the women are going to be homemakers, don't want to work. So they only include the unemployment of women who officially declared that they're looking for a job and can't find a job. But all the women who decided that they're just going to stay home because career opportunities are not there, they are not even counted as unemployed. But the facts are, evidence shows that if you create opportunities for them, they will want to work. So if you were to include all the women who are not working as part of unemployment in India would be 30-40% right now. That would be the statistics. So it's a shame that the intellectual caliber and the hard-working character of women is not being utilized as part of nation building. Because I'm convinced that if women were more represented in the workforce, India would be a far better place. And so somehow we have to change this thinking among leaders, among parents. Certainly in my case, I have a son and a daughter, and they're absolutely equal. There is just no difference. So my feeling is that this problem, now this used to be maybe dowry because, this girl will need dowry and all that. But I think that's also changing nowadays. Nowadays it's the women who are assertive and career oriented. They're not, it's not a matter of dowry and all that nowadays. So I don't know what the mental block is that is keeping women, behind. I think women are doing better than before. There are a lot of them in government and in prominent places, in media, role models exist. But still, there is a long way to go to make the women of modern India equal, whereas in traditional India, they were equal. So that's my one point that I thought should be added. And I want to conclude by thanking you for a wonderful session that you've had. I've thoroughly enjoyed the questions, exceedingly clear questions, sharp questions, questions that make me think on the spot. And I hope that people have benefited. I would love to continue this more because I like, of all the kinds of events, the ones with young people are my favorite. So namaste to all of you.
Welcome, sir. Welcome. It was really a pleasure and a great experience for each and every one of us. These words and your answers were a source of enlightenment, and this will stay with us like for a lifetime. Like, this is very remarkable. And I would like to thank on behalf of the entire student community and the student leaders of Delhi University. Thank you so much, sir. It was really a pleasure interacting with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.